Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about all the books I read in the month of June. I did do a TBR for June, but then when I traveled I was kind of just like, forget that. So today's video will be a little interesting when we're comparing my TBR versus what I read. So the first book I read in the month of June was Crooked Kingdom. I might have started it at the end of May, I can't really remember. Besides the point. Crooked Kingdom was an incredible book. I definitely rated this 5 out of 5 stars. I feel like I've talked about this book already so much, and I don't know why, because I finished it in the month of June, so I don't know where I was talking about it. Maybe just vlogs and stuff, but it is one of my favorite books of all time. This series, both Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, are one of my favorite books of series of all time, books of all time. Incredible. We just follow the same continuation with the same characters, like from Six of Crows duology, and I can't really touch much on Crooked Kingdom. If you haven't read Six of Crows, it would be kind of just a big old spoiler, so I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to tell you is the 6 characters we have here are all incredible. I love them so much. They go on heists. It's this big ordeal. It's this gorgeous fantasy, well actually it's like this really messed up fantasy land, I guess you could say, but the dynamic is incredible, the characters are incredible, the story is so incredible, and the relationships between all the characters, incredible. 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read, which was on my TBR, in fact the next 3 books were on my TBR, it is Karvall by Stephanie Garber. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I loved this book so much. I loved all of our characters, I loved the magical feel to it, I loved the world, I loved the game of Karvall. The only reason I gave it a 4 rather than a 5 stars because I felt like at times it was a little juvenile, like we know what was going through the character's brain, but then Stephanie Garber would write 18 sentences about it and we only needed like 3. So I don't think it was bad. I just think if I was like a 17-year-old girl, I would be obsessed, but being a little bit more mature, there are a couple faults I see. But as far as the characters, the plot, the story, I am in love. Like, I was this close to giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. In fact, I might have given it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, I can't remember. Just know that you should definitely read this. It's an incredible book. Loved the series. Let's talk about the next one. Next book I read is Legendary, which is the continuation, the sequel to Karvall. This book, however, got a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved Legendary so much. I loved our main character, Tella. It is different from the first book. The first book is her sister Scarlett's perspective. This one's in Tella's perspective. I love Tella. I feel like her and I are just way more similar than I am with Scarlett, which is not a bad thing. I love Scarlett also. I just really love Tella. And the love interest in this book is a little bit more appealing to me, even though I do love the love interest on the first book so much. Don't get me wrong. Love it so much. But the love story going on here is like so compelling and like it's just so consuming. Like I was so into it. I wanted this so bad. So I love this so much. Again, I don't want to get into it, but to just give you like an overall feel of the 2 books, or the 3 books, I guess. There are 2 sisters. I don't know why I didn't say this sooner when we're talking about Karvall, but this is Karvall. There are 2 sisters. The main character, Scarlett, she has always wanted to take part in this big old game called Karvall, which this famous guy named Legend puts on, and he's been putting it on for years and years and years. It's kind of like this immortal thing going on, I guess you could say. Basically, Scarlett gets tickets to go, and her sister flee. Her father is a terrible human being, so they're kind of like fleeing her father and going to this island where Karvall takes place, and they go with this guy named Julian. So that whole book happens, and then the second one happens in Tella's perspective, which, like I said, is just the other sister. I love this series. 5 out of 5 stars. For this book especially, this is my favorite of the series. I loved it so much. I love our main characters. I love our love interest. I love the events that take place. So beautiful. Everything hits me here. And then the next book I read is obviously Finale, which is the 3rd and final book in the Karvall trilogy. I loved this book so much. A little tiny bit less than the second book, but I'm still really happy with the way things all pull together in the end. In this book, you get both Scarlett and Tella's point of view, but I will say it's like 70% Tella, 30% Scarlett, which is a good and a bad thing depending on what story you prefer, like which sister's story you prefer. I liked both of them. I thought Tella's was a little more interesting, but Scarlett's was just as cool, and I really liked learning about hers as well. I loved the love story continuation into this book. You find a little bit more about their family in this book, and it's just so incredible. I loved even the villains in this book. There's one villain in particular that comes into play in Legendary, and his name is Jax. He's also in this book. I love him. I would also sell my soul for Jax, not just Dante. Although Dante I would for real sell my soul for, like no lie. But also Jax, I would sell my soul for him too. 5 out of 5 stars to finale as well. Loved it so much. It definitely deserves lots of love, and I really want you to read the Karvall series if you have not, because it like blew me away. Like it compelled me. It was just incredible. I loved it so much. I loved it more than I thought I would, and there's that. The last book I read in the month of June is Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. You already all know about Hunger Games. I'm really excited I did a reread of this though. I think the last time I read it was at least like 6 or 7 years ago, like when it was pretty new. What year did this come out? I think it originally came out in 2008 and I didn't read it until after I graduated high school, so like 2011. One thing I just want to say, I love the movies. They're some of my favorite movies of all time actually. I think they're so incredibly well done. There has never been a better well casted book to movie adaptation. Like everyone was dead on in my opinion. Yeah, some of the eye colors are a little different, but like looks, personality, the way that they portray the character, it is incredible. Honestly. Anyways, doing a reread of this, I read this all in one day. We were on our travels from here to Europe, so I read that all in the one day we did our big traveling, and I just love it so much. This will always be one of my favorite series of all times. These will always be some of my favorite books. They just really compel me. The movies are incredible, the books are incredible. They're short, not super long, but very well, like very detailed. You really get an incredible sense of the characters, of the plot, of the story, of the world, even though it's a little bit shorter. So I can really appreciate Suzanne Collins on that one, because I love Throne of Glass, but those books get long, but I love them, don't worry. So I actually finished reading this probably like June like 19th or 20th, and I did continue reading on, but because we were doing so much traveling, I started reading Catching Fire, but I didn't finish it till July, so I'm not going to include it until my July wrap up. And just in case you're wondering, I am continuing on with the series. One thing I've been wanting to do, one of the reasons I want to do reread so bad, is because I wanted to read the book and then watch the movie, then read the book, then watch the movie, read the book, then watch the movie, because I love the books and the movies so much, and I just was craving to watch them, and I was like, I'm gonna reread them before I watch them. So I did rewatch already Hunger Games and Catching Fire, because I have finished Catching Fire, even though I finished it in the month of July. Whatever. 5 out of 5 stars, obviously. Love those books so much. Let's go over the other books that were on my TBR that I didn't get to, and that was A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahara Mafi, and also Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. These are still books I want to read in the summer. They're definitely high up on my TBR. I just, when I was traveling, I was like, no, I want to read Hunger Games. Because I actually, like way back in the day, used to, for some reason, always watch Hunger Games when I was on the plane on my iPad. So I was just like, no, I want to read Hunger Games so I can watch it on my iPad on the plane like I used to do. Anyways, those are all the books I read this month. This video is definitely a shorter one. Usually I have 1 or 2 more books to talk about, but like I said in my TBR, I didn't know how this month was gonna go, because I was traveling for literally more than half of the month. The very beginning of the month, the first couple of days I was in Yosemite, and then from the like 19th or 17th and on, we were traveling. So there's that. If you guys have read any of these books, or if you love any of these books, or if you have any feelings about any of these books, you should definitely let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to respond to you guys. I love talking to you, and I want to chat, you know? Who doesn't want to chat about some of their favorite books? I obviously had a really good reading month, because like all of these were basically 5 out of 5 stars, except for Karvall, but still it's like really close to 5 out of 5. I have been talking for so long though. I filmed a video before this. I'm getting really exhausted, my throat's getting scratchy, and I'm getting hungry, so I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching today. If you guys enjoyed it, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe down below if you're new here. Tell your friends about me if you like that too, because that would be pretty cool. I hope you guys have a great morning, noon, evening, day, night, whenever happens to be that you're watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.